Remember when we reported how special counsel Jack Smith had subpoenaed Donald Trump's Twitter records from Elon Musk's controlled Twitter, and Elon Musk initially refused to turn it over? Musk was sanctioned $350,000, a contempt sanction for not turning over these records. There was a big battle over Donald Trump's Twitter records. People were saying, well, why is that so important? We all could see the posts. Well, we're now learning why it is absolutely so critical. One interesting note as well: when the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals affirmed the trial judge's order holding Twitter in contempt, Elon Musk in contempt, look at the panel that affirmed the decision to hold Twitter in contempt. Pillard, Childs, and Pan. Childs and Pan are two of the three judges on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals panel that will be overseeing or will be hearing Donald Trump's argument about absolute presidential immunity on Tuesday. So I think that's just kind of an irrelevant factor. They've already sanctioned Twitter under Elon Musk for not turning over Trump's Twitter files. Okay, so why is this so important right now? What are we learning today? Well, a bombshell by ABC News over the weekend that one of Donald Trump's former top aides, Dan Scavino, also served as Donald Trump's deputy chief of staff. He'd been working with Donald Trump for many, many decades. He's had to give testimony before special counsel Jack Smith. Scavino was held in contempt by the January 6th committee. He refused to comply with the subpoena there, asserting executive privilege. Ultimately, the Department of Justice did not prosecute Scavino on the contempt referral by the January 6th committee. But the Department of Justice was able to, and this is why people were saying, well, why didn't Merrick Garland, why didn't the DOJ prosecute Dan Scavino for contempt of Congress? Well, because the DOJ, they wanted to be tactical and strategic. They knew if they did that, it would prevent Dan Scavino from turning over the records. He might invoke the Fifth. He might be obstructive. And they were able to get around the executive privilege claim in the criminal investigation because it's harder to assert. It's not harder. You really can't assert executive privilege if you're part of a former administration against the current executive branch. We've covered that a lot, that concept a lot here on the MeidasTouch Network. Here's the article by ABC News. Special counsel probe uncovers new details about Trump's inaction on January 6th. Sources, aides allegedly said that Trump was not interested in doing more to stop the riot. And I mean, look, I think that we've known about that part for a while, but as you dig through the article, it's interesting because the article doesn't specifically highlight this point, although they mention it. Finally, when Donald Trump got around to posting things that somewhat told people, to stop, that was actually posted not by Trump, but by Scavino. Trump didn't want to post any of that. Trump was posting on his own the threatening messages, the inciting messages. And so what Jack Smith's going to be able to show by having these Twitter records and all of the metadata and the geo-targeting locations and everything about it, Jack Smith will be able to show who was specifically posting when. Was it Trump? Was it Scavino? And when was that all going down? And that's how Jack Smith's been able to also show Donald Trump's intent by getting those Twitter records, because you can see whose phone, whose device it's on that's doing the posts, which posts were Scavino, which posts were Trump. Trump's was the post on his own threatening Pence. And this new report by ABC talks about how all the people in Trump's inner circle were horrified by his behavior. Let me read you some of this article. It says that special counsel Jack Smith's team has uncovered previously undisclosed details about former President Donald Trump's refusal to help stop the violent attack on the U.S. Capitol 3 years ago as he sat watching TV inside the White House, according to sources familiar with Jack Smith's probe. Many of the exclusive details come from the questioning of Trump's former deputy chief of staff, Dan Scavino, who first started working for Trump as a teenager 3 decades ago and is now a paid senior advisor to Trump's re-election campaign. Scavino wouldn't speak with the House Select Committee as I mentioned, but he had to speak with the Department of Justice. New details also come from Smith's team's interviews with other White House advisors and top lawyers who, despite being deposed in the congressional probe, previously declined to answer questions about Trump's own statement and demeanor. Remember, they were asserting executive privilege in the January 6th committee proceeding, which the January 6th committee just didn't have enough time to litigate that issue. They would have won, but clearly there's no executive privilege against the current executive branch where it's not, where the privilege isn't invoked. So Special Counsel Jack Smith was able to override a frivolous assertion of executive privilege. Here's some of the things that it said. Sources said Scavino told Smith's investigators that as the violence began to escalate that day, Trump was just not interested in doing more to stop it. Sources also said former Trump aide Nick Luna told federal investigators that when Trump was informed that then Vice President Mike Pence had to be rushed to a secure location, Trump responded, "So what?" which sources said Luna saw as an unexpected willingness by Trump to let potential harm come to a longtime loyalist. According to sources, when speaking with Smith's team, Scavino recalled telling Trump in a phone call the night of January 6th, "This is your legacy here, and there's smoke coming out of the Capitol." Scavino hoped Trump would finally help facilitate a peaceful transfer of power, but as also previously recounted in public reports, when Scavino and other White House officials learned that rioters had violently stormed the Capitol, they rushed into the dining room to urge Trump to help calm the situation. Still, Trump didn't do anything. According to what sources said, Scavino told Smith's team, Trump was, quote, "very angry that day, not angry at what his supporters were doing to a pillar of American democracy, but steaming that the election was allegedly stolen from him and his supporters, who were angry on his behalf." Scavino described it all as very unsettling. At times, Trump just sat silently at the head of the table with his arms folded and his eyes locked on the TV, Scavino recounted, sources said. After unsuccessfully trying for 20 minutes to persuade Trump to release some sort of calming statement, Scavino and others walked out of the dining room, leaving Trump alone, sources said. That's when, according to sources, Trump posted a message on his Twitter account saying that Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done. Trump aides told investigators they were shocked by the post. Aside from Trump, Scavino was the only other person who had access to Trump's Twitter account, and he was often the one actually posting the messages to do it. So when the message about Pence popped up, Trump's White House lawyer Cipollone and another White House attorney, I think Patrick Philbin, raced to find Scavino, demanding to know why he would post that in the midst of such a precarious situation, sources said. Scavino said he was blindsided by the post as they were insisting to them, "I didn't do it." Scavino was saying, "I did not do that post." Some of Trump's aides then returned to the dining room to explain to Trump that a public attack on Pence was not what we need, as Scavino put it to Smith's team, but it's true, Trump responded. Sources told ABC News that Trump has publicly echoed a sentiment that Trump has publicly echoed since then. At about the same time, Trump's aides were again pushing him to do more. A White House security official heard reports over police radio that indicated Pence's security detail believed this was about to get very ugly, according to the House committee report. As Trump aide Luna recalled, according to sources, Trump didn't seem to care that Pence had to be moved to a secure location. Trump showed he was capable of allowing harm to come to one of his closest allies at the time, Luna told investigators, sources said. With the chaos inside the Capitol continuing, Trump's aides believed Trump still needed to do more. Sources said Cipollone, Trump's White House lawyer, recalled telling Trump that he needed to explicitly instruct the rioters to leave the Capitol, and that's when Scavino printed out a proposed message to post on Twitter, and ultimately you can tell who is the one who posted the messages, Scavino or Trump. And so, and also it says in his own closed-door interviews with federal investigators, Meadows confirmed previous media reports saying that when a desperate Kevin McCarthy called Trump and then the then president told him, well, Kevin, I guess these people are more upset about the election than you are. And this was posted by the January 6th committee. Here, play this clip back from January of 2022.
Have you been able to determine what President Trump was doing while the Capitol was under attack? How much clearer is that picture today than it was on January 6th?
Well, you know, it's about 187 minutes. We have now determined he was in the White House. We've determined that a number of people made attempts to contact him through his chief of staff. Some of those text messages we shared on our presentation of the contempt citation for Mark Meadows. We also have information of other individuals who made calls trying to get some semblance of response out of the White House. But for that 187 minutes, nothing happened. We do know now that several videos were made. We don't have them yet before the right one was released. But we requested it from the National Archives, that and all other information. So the president was told, you need to say directly to your people to go home, leave the Capitol. And so it took over 187 minutes to make that simple statement. Something wrong with that.
And this next video I'm going to show you, I mean, to me is, I don't know why this video doesn't get more attention. We usually see some clips of it, the part where Kimberly Guilfoyle's like dancing while the insurrection's about to take place. But you can see kind of Donald Trump watching the screen. You can see the Trump family just having the time of their life. This is them at their happiest moment as they're about to destroy American democracy. Here, play this clip.
Kimberly! I think we're T-minus a couple of seconds here, guys, so check it out, tune in, do live stream it. It's gonna be good. Shout out Mark Meadows, an actual fighter, one of the few, a real fighter. Thank you, Mark. Kimberly.
Yes, have the time to do the right thing. Fight.
Thank you, guys. Just really appreciate all the love and support. It's pretty amazing.
And finally, let me just play you this clip too. This is Trump's Deputy National Security Advisor, Matthew Pottinger. Remember he testified at the January 6th committee? Remember what he said. This is Trump's Deputy National Security Advisor. Here's what he had to say about what unfolded on January 6th. Here, play this clip.
Our national security was harmed in a different way by the 6th of January, and that is that it, I think it emboldened our enemies by helping give them ammunition to feed a narrative that our system of government doesn't work, that the United States is in decline. China, the Putin regime in Russia, Tehran, they're fond of pushing those kinds of narratives. And by the way, they're wrong. We've been hearing for the entirety of U.S. history from kings and despots that the United States is in decline, and those kings and despots have been proven wrong every single time. But nonetheless, January 6th helped feed a perception that I think emboldens our adversaries. The other part I think is simply our allies. I heard from a lot of friends in Europe, in Asia, allies, close friends, and supporters of the United States that they were concerned about the health of our democracy. And so I think it's incumbent upon us to put their minds at ease, to put our own hearts at ease, by investigating what happened on the 6th and making sure that it never happens again.
I'll do one better than that. So that was Trump's deputy national security advisor saying that. Here is from this past weekend what Donald Trump's own former defense secretary has to say. This is Trump's own former defense secretary speaking right here. Play this clip.
But since today is January 6th, 3 years after the attack on the Capitol, I'm just curious, Mr. Secretary, do you view Donald Trump as a threat to American democracy?
Well, first of all, good to be with you, Jim. It is a tragic day in our nation's history. And yes, I do regard him as a threat to democracy. Democracy as we know it, our institutions, our political culture, all those things that make America great, and have defined us as, the oldest democracy on this planet.
As Sarah Longwell says, in a normal, healthy political environment, a former president and current frontrunner for the presidential nomination in the Republican Party being called a threat to democracy by his former defense secretary would be big news. And Sarah Longwell, conservative. She's a conservative. That's why I think it's just so important that we continue to get out these messages. We continue to just talk about normalcy, our democracy, and we got to just keep exposing it every day. We can't rest even for a moment right now. It's time to roll up our sleeves, and we got to get these messages out together. So share these videos. Please share these videos. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 2 million subscribers. Thanks to your support, and have a great one.
Hey Midas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.